watching NotesIn9.
Hello, and welcome to NotesIn9. I'm David Leedy. Episode 107, Launch Attachments from a View Control. If you're going to use a view control, you might as well hack it. Okay, just to get started here, there's the slide with all my stuff that I contribute to the community. Here's a slide with the community stuff, but I've made some changes here. I have updated it for Stack Overflow. Is over 1,217 questions asked, with many of them answered. We also have the X Pages forum is a great place to ask questions. And what's new to this slide is the paid sources. XPages101.net is Matt White's site. Matt White is a great developer from London Developer Co-op in Okuji, and he does video training just like NotesIn9, except his videos are much better. So you might want to check that out. It's very, very affordable. And usually there's discount codes which aren't hard to find, especially if you see him speak at lugs and things like that. TLCC.com has these great like courseware, like training that takes place inside your notes and designer environment. And they've got all these different subjects on X Pages and other things. And when they also have forums or so there's good places to ask questions too. So just because you get this online-ish courseware, you don't have to be online. You can be local. You have a place to ask questions and stuff too, so that's really nice to see. And up to this point, all my contributors in NotesIn9, I'm pretty sure, have been business partners and some or consultants in some way, shape, or another. So I'm sure many of them would be very happy to engage in any kind of mentoring or training plan or assistance to help you get up to speed on X Pages. Okay, so today I've got a brand new contributor that I'm really excited about, and his name is Steve Zavaki, and he's a longtime Notes developer, but he's also a customer, and I think he's the first true customer that I've had on the show. I'm a customer, so it's kind of rare. Most of the contributors are business partners or so, but it's always great to see customers come on because they just using it and they just like the technology. So there's his email, and he's got this really great blog at notespeak.blogspot.com. And if you go to that, he's a fairly new blogger, I believe, but he's got this great story about how he left work for a year and realized his skills weren't quite up to par when he came back to look for a job from an RV and experience with his family, which really sounds neat. And now he's kind of like on a quest to like improve himself and learn more and learn new things and not just learn X Pages, though he's been focused on that. And he got a job as an X Pages developer at a grocery store. So X Pages is a little more out there than you might think. So if grocery stores are now starting to use it, so but he's trying to learn anything, and I think that's great, and that's one of the purposes of NotesIn9 is just to keep the education going and keep people learning. So check out his blog and that story. I find it fascinating that he's teaching his daughter Java, and not only is he teaching his daughter Java, but he's using some of the sites which I mentioned on the show before. How to program with Java.com. There's a guy named Trevor. Gosh, I forget his last name right now, but Trevor's a great guy. I've talked to him several times via email. And JavaPDF.org is a site Trevor did with this online book that you can buy on Java, and it's also available on Kindle, I think, and whatnot. And it's very digestible. Trevor does a very good job of explaining Java syntax and concepts, and it's really well done. But the most fascinating thing about him teaching his daughter Java is she's 12. So no more excuses about being afraid of Java, people. She's 12 and she's starting to learn Java. And I'm desperately trying to get her on the show. She's a very tough negotiator, so it may not happen, but if it's all possible, she will be coming on NotesIn9. So there you go. Okay, so today he's going to take us on a demo of just a view control, and he's going to add a column to a view control and launch attachments to it from it. So which I thought is kind of cool. Now he's using some code which I've used myself in the day job that Stefan Whistle did on his blog. So if you ever like Google for X Pages and attachments or so, you're going to find some little code snippets that Stefan posted on his blog on how to reach into an attachment on another document. If it's in another database or whatever, and it's really helpful to get started as you if you need to fine tune it and stuff like that. So I do want to thank Stefan for that code that he blogged, and he has a lot of good stuff on his blog, quite honestly. So you do want to, if you had not seen it, I forget. I should have put I'll try to put it in the show notes. Notes Sensei, I think is in his blog somewhere. But just Google Stefan Whistle notes, and I'm sure you'll find it or so. But he's a great, talented developer. He works for IBM, and he's got a wonderful blog. Okay, so with all that stuff being said, let's go to the demo and see Steve talk about the view control.
Hi, my name is Steve Zavaki, and I am going to demonstrate in this NotesIn9 screencast how to launch a attachment directly from a view control, from a column in a view control. I have a little bit about myself. I've been a Notes developer since 1996, but I was a little late in getting into X Pages, and I started in X Pages in the beginning of 2012 and started a new job in August where I am developing X Pages and have been enjoying it ever since. After watching the Notes in 9 episode 100, Dave inspired me to make a blog. And in this blog, I wrote up how I did this because I honestly I had never seen it done before, and it was one of the I thought, well, I need to share this since I have learned so much from other people's blogs. So I did, and Dave saw it and asked me to do this episode. So let me go ahead and get into it and describe the issue I had. I was asked relatively late in the design process after I'd kind of mapped out the UI to make a way to add a attachment for these store transfer documents. So that was easy enough adding a control to add an attachment, but then I had to come up with a way of viewing the attachment. Now, if you had an X page associated with these invoice documents or these transfer documents, then you could just launch the attachment on there. It would be very easy. But I don't have an attachment. They are only manipulated through a checkbox in the view because there's no editing of them once they're created. So I had a big dilemma, and I searched Google to from one end to the other, and I could not find anybody who had done it just like this. So I had to create it myself. So let me create a document and just kind of show you how one is created. It's pretty easy, but I need to enter a negative number, and I'm just going to go grab the attachments have to be in PDF format. So I'm going to go ahead and add the attachment. Oops. And I need to change that. And okay, now there is no visual for an attachment added to the document once you create it. In actuality, the attachment is required, so there wouldn't be any need for that. But I took that requirement off so I could demonstrate what it looks like with an attachment and without an attachment. So to go see what that looks like, I need to go to a different portal, to the City Creek Grocery, and click on the Store Transfers tab. So here you can see the four documents with three of them not having an attachment and one of them having an attachment. So there's nothing here if there's no attachment. So to launch the attachment, and this is IE8, which is the company standard presently. I'm working on that, but right now that's I think there's some reason why can't upgrade. But I'm going to demonstrate what this looks like in Firefox and Chrome. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it. And what it does is it's going to launch this little helper window, and the size is important, and I'll explain why the size is the way it is later. And then it gives you this nice file download control, and you can click a box and you can click open, and it's going to open your attachment. So there you go. And IE is very nice because the attachment, this little helper window, closes on its own. When you launch it in Chrome, it acts a little bit differently. So let me go to transfers. It's going to give you this do you want to keep this? And that is the reason why this is sized the way it is. Otherwise, if it was sized any differently, you wouldn't be able to see it. It would be confusing to the user. So you have to push keep, then you have to double click on it, and then it opens the attachment. And then it doesn't clean up after itself, unlike IE. So you have to close it manually. And Firefox is similar. And let me go to the right spot. And store transfers. It acts more like IE in that it actually, the helper window opens and closes, and then it gives you an option here to open or to save the file or open it with Acrobat. So go ahead and open it, and there you go. Okay, so that's how it works. I'm gonna now show you how I did it. It's not that difficult. Okay, so let's go to the X page, and here is the column that has the attachment. So the different things I had to do was the first thing I had to do was in the view control, I had to give it a value in the var. Likely you've already done this for other reasons, so I always call mine row value. So that's the first thing you need to do. Second is your column needs to be bound. It has to be bound to something or you're going to get an error message, and this is bound to a null. The third thing you have to do is in the display, the image is computed, and here's how it's done. The code is pretty simple. It in my case, I have a set file name for every document that's attached. You notice I attached a presentation, but it was stored as storetransfer.pdf. And so it's real easy for me to just get that attachment, and if it's exactly equal to null, I do nothing else. I show the attachment GIF, which is in my resources. If you don't have a set file attachment, then you do have to do more work here. You're going to have to I haven't done it, but I imagine you have to get an array of all the attachments, and it would be a fair amount more coding you have to do. So that's how you display whether there is a paperclip or not. And the paperclip I just found from a freely downloadable site somewhere out on Google. And then the other piece of code is in the events for that column. You have just one event, and that is on click. And what I've done there is it's essentially very similar. I get a handle to the attachment. I check to see if it's null. If it's null, I do nothing. And my else is where everything happens. And I use I get the unique ID, and then I use this function called get attachment URL. And that's something that's stored in a server-side JavaScript library. It's something that I found on Google from Stephen Whistle's site. And why write it if you can recycle? And so his site has been very helpful to, I imagine, a lot of us. And so I use that, and I'll show you that. But it's essentially, I did change it some because I have my data is stored in a different database, not the database where this is being called from. And then after I get the URL built, I run a view PostScript, which actually calls client-side JavaScript, and does a window open and causes the that little window to open, the helper window that I mentioned. And this is important here. The height is 120 and the width is 650. And I just arranged it kind of up top, just so it's always shown. And so that's how that works. And also wanted to show you the server-side JavaScript library. Here's the function that Stephen Whistle wrote, and I just added I added extra parameters here, but it's pretty simple. Um, and you can find this by Googling. If you just Google get attachment URL, you'll find his site if you don't know, if you don't have it bookmarked already. Other things I should mention, I mentioned about having a set file name. You definitely have to do more coding if you don't have that. Um, the other thing I wanted to mention is this just supports a single attachment. My business requirements only require one attachment, and you can't have any more. And um, it checks. I have client-side JavaScript that checks that you're only putting one attachment. So that is one limitation. Otherwise, I guess maybe you could write it where if you knew the names of them, you could have two different columns. Um, but I didn't need to do that. Then the other thing is that there is a setting in Internet Explorer that I should mention because this took me a long time to figure this out. And let me just quickly go there and show you in the security settings. There is this is the standard security settings for Internet Explorer. There is a setting that has to be enabled, and that is this setting right here that says it's the first thing right after the ActiveX controls. It says downloads automatic prompting for file downloads. That is enabled. If it's not enabled and you can't get your administrators to change it, then it does make it difficult to use in Internet Explorer. It does work. You just have to do control click, but you don't, it's best to just have it changed and be done with it if you can. So that's the demo, and I hope you find this useful. Thank you.
And that's the demo. I really appreciate Steve taking the time to come on, and I hope we'll see him again. And if you have any questions for me, here's my contact information, and I thank you for your time.